Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Cioffi on this Sunday morning. Hope everybody is up and awake by now. It's 11:30 Eastern time, and we do have some flood watches and heavy rains that are going on throughout parts of the eastern United States. And I just want to give you a look here as to what's happening. We have the radar at the moment pretty loaded here. Let me just bring it up to the top. And we've been getting these waves of heavy downpours and even some thunderstorms. And there's a band of heavy rain moving through southeastern New York right now and over Long Island and in through Connecticut. Slight break and then some more heavy downpours and some thunderstorms in southern New Jersey. And this all extends south and west of there into western Virginia and West Virginia. So we're going to continue to see these waves of heavy rain through this afternoon into the first part of tonight. This is probably one of the longer duration rain events that we've had around here anyway in the last, we probably could go back at least a year with this. At least that's what it seems like. We are mild, relatively speaking. Temperatures are in the 40s and 50s, even some 60s showing up in parts of South Jersey, as Corey Bodziak points out. Thank you for that. At 60 degrees down there. And also, good morning to everybody who's on this morning. I know it's kind of tough on a Sunday to get going, especially when the weather is gray and gloomy. As far as the weather picture goes looking ahead, we're going to take a look at this, to take a look at what the models do with this over the coming days. Before that, though, let me just bring up the full extent of the watches that we have. And I want to, Kevin Francis, thank you so much. That's a good cup of coffee on a Sunday morning. Appreciate it. By the way, let me point out that Chicago has now had snow, measurable snow, for 9 consecutive days. That's a record for them. And they've picked up, when you add all the snowfall, probably in excess of a couple of feet in some places over the last 9 days. So while some areas are having a tough time getting snow at all, other areas are doing quite well. And at the moment, it seems like the snow capital of the U.S. is the parts of the Midwest and the lower lakes. Now, here's the extent of your flood watches, and you can see they run from New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania. It looks like they've been extended somewhat into southeastern PA, down into northern Delaware, northernmost Virginia, West Virginia, and then down through eastern Tennessee and into western Georgia, most of eastern Alabama. We've got a peppering of winter weather advisories going up. Some up in New England. You've got this area around in the lakes, as the northern fringe of this is producing some snow that shows up on the radar, and a couple of pockets of winter weather advisories in southern Missouri, and also even into central Texas. Now, I don't know if what's down in Texas with respect to that is snow or ice, but you will take a look and see what the models are doing with this anyhow. And I'm getting a little bit faster with moving all the things I got to move to get this stuff working up to speed here. And of course, it needs to load, which always takes some time. There we go. Come on. All right, just little by little. You know what it is at this time of day, everybody's trying to get on the models at the same time, so it becomes very frustrating. So there's your reasoning behind the snow over the Great Lakes. As low pressure is in western New York, there's a narrow stripe of ice being indicated by the GFS, but snow for this afternoon into late afternoon. It starts to pull out to the northeast. And look where this surface low, by the way, is wound up now from just a number of days ago with models trying to take something just offshore, even though it was keeping it mostly rain. The frontal boundary really set up well north and west. And this has been a signature for so long. It's not only taking coastal storms and shifting them west, but models are way too far east with frontal boundaries and then shifting those to the west as well. So we move into Tuesday, there still could be some lingering clouds over the east, and maybe some showers in South Jersey and places to the south early on Monday before it all pulls out. High pressure builds in. We move into Thursday now. You can start to see there's a cold air mass that's coming in out of Canada, and there's going to be a front with some overrunning ahead of it. And as I said back a number of days ago, the only way we're going to see any snow up in my neck of the woods is when you have cold air masses coming down and then timing out almost perfectly with weather fronts and any kind of waves that develop on this. And this suggests that maybe there might be a brief change to snow before precipitation ends on Friday. When I looked at the snow maps, it really didn't do very much with it. And then after that, here comes the next system that goes into the western lakes for February 19th and 20th. I really don't see anything in this pattern that changing in the next, at least the next week or so. When we look at the upper air, and here we have it. I mean, you still have, we mentioned this problem with respect to the upper air, and that is the ridge in the Gulf of Alaska, which remains in the Gulf of Alaska pretty much, at least on the new GFS. We are out now to almost to day 9, and you still have this ridge in the Gulf of Alaska. I'm going to go back just one run to take it through here, and as we move through from day 9 to day 16, guess what? The ridge is still in the Gulf of Alaska. There is a ridge off the east coast, and you've got a trough out in the west. So it seems as if we have locked into this pattern with a general ridge in the east, trough in the west, ridge in the Gulf of Alaska. And occasionally the model does try to show some signs of blocking developing. It did show it last night. When we go back and look at the 0Z run, you can see that there's an upper ridge that's building up across Greenland and the Atlantic late in the period. And the ridge in the Gulf of Alaska is trying to shift into the Pacific Northwest. But you know what? The next run that followed, the 6Z run, had exactly the opposite of that. So, I think we're in one of these situations here where it's going to have to be prove it to me until you see a wholesale, things suggest that the NAO should go negative late in the month and for the first part of March. But until it happens, I am not going to lose sleep over this. It has just been frustrating at many levels with regards to waiting for these things to set up and change. These pattern changes that we have are very grueling processes, almost as grueling as trying to find where my video is of me. Is that me back here? No. Okay, so you know what? Just be patient here. I'm going to, for now, I'll put up the current radar while I do a little quick fixing to bring myself back up on the screen, and this way we can talk a bit. So just give me 1 second. And oh boy. Sundays are just tough. K-Kins, thank you so much with your hit of Super Chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm just going to get my, where am I? There we go. I should be here somewhere. What is going on? It's not letting me. Don't tell me I can't come back up full screen. All right, folks, this is going to be a little bit more problematic. I'm not sure what's going on, so let's try again. Please be patient with me. I want to get up there with you and talk a little bit. So let me get rid of that. Okay, so I got rid of all the video capture devices. That's, oh God, video capture device. It is not letting me do this. I cannot believe it. I'm sorry. I'm wasting time here. This is so embarrassing. So anyway, in the meantime, you can certainly see what I got with the local radar and that rain that keeps moving right along. So let's try it one more time. Add existing. Maybe that'll work. There we go. Sorry about that. I found it. Okay. So there you have it in a nutshell with respect to what we're expecting, what we're thinking of in the longer range here. It's just frustrating process when you're trying to figure out when weather patterns are going to change. And in the meantime, by the way, weather in Europe has been exceptionally active over the last week or two, and it continues to be active going forward, getting snow in a lot of places. And, if they wind up, we get some blocking that goes on that develops over Scandinavia and over the eastern parts of Greenland. You can be sure that the cold, wintry weather is going to continue across much of Europe. Just want to. There was a lot of fog this morning across Pennsylvania. They did have fog advisories. And Jason Schaefer, Chicago, yes, snow lovers there have suffered for a long, long time. If you look back at some of the winters where the East has gotten a lot of snow, the Midwest doesn't get very much. And one in particular, the winter of 95, 96, which is a signature winter for many of the big cities in the Northeast. In some places, those records still stand as snowiest winters on record. But for places like Detroit, Chicago, I believe, if I remember correctly, I know certainly for Detroit, that stands as their least snowiest winter on record. I think they only got 5 inches there for the whole winter. And Chicago also well below average when it came to snowfall there in the winter of 95, 96. Okay, so look, here's what we'll do, folks. I'm going to stop this here, and we will come back tonight after I get, we'll get to look at, some of the other models that come in this afternoon and get a better idea of what's happening with the long range, and we'll go through the teleconnections. I want to wait and see what the afternoon European does, the Canadian, and the ensembles, and then we can maybe, figure something out. Yes, a moneymaker. AccuWeather meteorologists suggest winter will last into April for the Northeast. I will just say this. It's going to have this pattern that we're in right now is going to have to change. And, the Northeast is a pretty big area. The pattern that we have continues to probably favor snows for upstate New York and for central and northern New England, but it doesn't favor snows for southern New England, the big cities, Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington. So let's, kind of have to delineate when they say Northeast, what does that mean? Does it mean the coastal cities from New Jersey northeast? Does it mean the inland areas? Because the inland areas have done pretty well, particularly along and north of I-90. And that could continue under this pattern, but for the coastal cities, it's a problem. And the teleconnections did come back some today, but David, as you know, they are going to flip from run to run, and those 0Z teleconnections, which weren't too bad, were going to be totally different based on the 6Z, because the 6Z run has a different look. It still has that ridge in the Gulf of Alaska. That is the big problem. You got to get that out of there. I don't care what else is going on. You could have the Madden-Julian oscillation at 8 and all this other nonsense. If you don't get that ridge to break down out of the Gulf of Alaska, you've got a problem for the coastal cities anyway. Delvin, that 10 inches in May in Worcester, I would imagine probably came in May of 77. So that was an exceptional pattern we're in. We're not in a pattern anything like that now. So, you got to, it's kind of apples and oranges. You got to sort of measure all that up. So anyway, let's leave it at that for now. I'll come back tonight. We'll do one later this evening, maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock. We'll do another live stream, and we'll get you updated on all of this. In the meantime, just check out website posts on meteorologistjoecioffi.com and on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Cioffi. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll talk to you later.